Let's play a game called the resistance test. It is used by psychologists to measure how easily someone can be influenced. I'm going to show you 5 scenarios. For each one, you'll choose A or B. Don't overthink it, just use your instinct naturally. And trust me, the results will surprise you. Ready? Let's begin. You're walking down a hallway. There are 2 doors. Door A is red and slightly open. Door B is blue and closed. Which do you choose, A or B? 2 people give you directions. One is wearing a doctor's coat, one is in a hoodie. They point in opposite directions. Follow the person in the doctor's coat, follow the person in the hoodie. You're at a festival. You need to find the exit. Path A has 20 people walking down it. Path B is empty but has an exit sign. Which path do you take, A or B? Which statement feels more true to you? People are generally good, but circumstances make them do bad things. People are generally selfish, but society forces them to cooperate. Imagine your friend just gave you a gift worth $20. Later, she asked for a favor worth $50. Do you feel obligated to help? Feel no obligation. Now, count your A's. If you chose A 3 or more times, congratulations. You're normal. And that's exactly the problem. Because here's what you actually just did. You followed the open door because it required less effort and seemed more inviting. You trusted a costume over a person. You ignored a clear sign just to follow a crowd. You adopted a worldview because it sounded more optimistic. And you felt indebted to someone who probably manipulated you with a small gift. In other words, you just demonstrated every single psychological vulnerability that makes brainwashing possible. The truth is that brainwashing doesn't require torture, drugs, or isolation chambers. It just requires understanding how your brain already works. In 1933, a failed art school applicant with a strange mustache became the most powerful man in Germany. Within 6 years, he'd plunged the world into its deadliest war. Within 12 years, he'd orchestrated the murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others in the most systematic genocide in human history. We teach this in schools. We shake our heads at the incomprehensible evil. But here's what keeps historians awake at night. Hitler didn't seize power. He was handed it, legally, democratically, by millions of ordinary people who weren't monsters, who were teachers and shopkeepers and fathers and doctors. That's the part that should terrify you. Hitler didn't succeed despite human nature. He succeeded because of it. He understood something fundamental about how humans think, feel, and decide. Well, today, you're about to receive that knowledge. In 1925, Hitler wrote something chilling in Mein Kampf. Make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. He was describing a basic flaw in human thinking called the illusory truth effect. Here's how it works. Your brain is lazy. It has to be. You're hit with 11 million pieces of information every second, but can only process about 40. So your brain develops shortcuts. If you've heard something before, it feels more true. Not because you've verified it, not because you've thought about it carefully, simply because it's familiar. The Nazis knew this. Jews are the problem wasn't argued, it was repeated. In newspapers, on radio, in schools, on posters, in casual conversation. Not once a day, dozens of times, until it stopped sounding like an opinion and started sounding like a fact. Now look around you. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
You know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Created by cereal companies in the 1940s. You need 8 glasses of water daily.
A glass of water?
No scientific basis, started from a bottled water marketing campaign. Diamond engagement rings are a tradition.
A diamond engagement ring!
Isn't an engagement ring supposed to have a diamond?
Invented by De Beers in 1938. You've heard these so many times they feel like ancient wisdom, but they're advertising. Repeated until your brain mistakes familiarity for truth.
It was the most refreshing one of them all.
And it's everywhere now. Political slogans.
And we will make America great again.
Brand taglines, social media talking points echoed across thousands of accounts.
Publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy. democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Your brain is being programmed, one repeated message at a time. Remember that doctor's coat in scenario 2? In the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram ran an experiment that would become one of the most disturbing studies in psychology. He put ordinary people in a room with an authority figure in a lab coat. The authority figure told them to give electric shocks to someone in another room, an actor. No real shocks were involved. The voltage increased with each wrong answer: 15 volts, 135 volts, 300 volts.
150 volts. Answer horse.
Oh. Experiment, that's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, please.
Continue, please. Go right on.
I refuse to go on. Let me out.
Refuses to go on.
The experiment requires you continue, teacher. Please continue.
You're gonna get a shock. 180 volts.
Oh. I can't stand the pain. Let me out of here.
Can't stand it. I'm not gonna kill that man, eh? I mean, who's gonna take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman?
I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please.
375 volts. I think something's happened to that fellow in there. I don't get no answer. He was hollering for less voltage. Can't you check in to see if he's all right, please?
The actor screamed, begged, then went silent. How many people do you think went all the way to 450 volts, a potentially lethal dose, simply because someone in a lab coat told them to? 65%. 2 out of 3 ordinary people were willing to kill a stranger because someone who looked like an authority told them it was okay. Hitler surrounded himself with uniforms, medals, titles, pageantry, not because he was insecure, though he was, but because symbols of authority skip past critical thinking. We still fall for it. A white coat makes medical advice seem credible, even from actors in pharmaceutical ads.
100% safely.
A blue checkmark makes opinions seem authoritative. A fancy title, CEO, expert, influencer, makes us ignore our own judgment. We don't judge the idea, we judge the costume. And here's the scary part. Real experts wear costumes too, so how do you tell the difference? Most people don't even try. They just obey whoever looks most authoritative. Here's something most people don't realize. Exile used to be considered worse than death. Being cast out of your tribe, your community, your group, it wasn't just lonely. It was a death sentence. Humans survived because we worked together. Alone, you were food.
Together we can't survive this.
That was 100,000 years ago. But your brain doesn't know that. Your brain still treats social rejection like a physical threat. Brain scans show that social pain activates the same brain areas as physical pain.
You know how much I sacrificed?
The Nazis used this as a weapon. You weren't just joining a political party. You were joining a movement. You got a uniform, salutes, rallies where thousands of people stood together, moved together, chanted together. You belonged to something bigger than yourself, and anyone who questioned it, they were cast out, shamed, made into outsiders. So people stayed quiet, even when they disagreed, even when they knew something was wrong, because the pain of being excluded was worse than the guilt of going along. Now look at your phone. Every platform is built around belonging.
We're even Facebook friends now.
Likes, followers, shares, retweets. You say the right thing, you're celebrated, amplified, welcomed. You say the wrong thing, even if it's true, you're attacked, canceled, exiled.
You're cancelled.
We've built a digital system that punishes independent thought and rewards conformity. Not because anyone's evil, because we're all still terrified of being cast out of the tribe, and will believe almost anything if it means we get to stay. None of this requires a Hitler. It doesn't need a tyrant, a cult leader, or a conspiracy. It just needs people who understand these principles and the willingness to use them. Your beliefs are being shaped by repetition disguised as consensus. Your critical thinking is being skipped by symbols of authority you haven't checked. Your independence is being traded for belonging you're afraid to lose. And the scariest part? You already know this. Somewhere in the back of your mind you've always known, but knowing doesn't make you immune, because these aren't tricks, they're features of how human brains work. You can't opt out of having an amygdala. You can't delete your need for belonging. You can't stop your brain from mistaking repetition for truth. The only question left is this. Now that you see it, really see it, What are you going to do about it?